your notes for 7.5 inverse functions. What I'm expecting you to be able to do is find the inverses of linear and nonlinear functions. All right, the inverse relation. All right, the relationship between inverse is that one function will undo what the other function did. All right, so that's what the relationship is between an inverse. All right, is that one function undoes what the other one does to a number. Okay, real easy. This is the original relation. The inverse relation, all you're going to do is switch the x and the y. All right, and the input and the output. So this one would be -4, -2. This would be -2, -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, and 4, 2. All right, so that's pretty easy. That first page, original relation again, all you do is you switch the x and the y. And that's the inverse. All right, for two functions to be inverses, their composition must equal x. In other words, f of g of x must equal just x, or g of f of x. Well, and g of f of x must also equal x. All right, so that is an inverse function. If we were writing it as an inverse function, we would write f to the -1. This is an exponent. All right. All right. So, example 1, we're going to verify inverse functions. We're going to verify that f and g are inverse functions, and we're going to do that by showing that f of g of x equals x. So, all we got to do is take this side and show that it's going to equal x. So again, when we're doing f of g of x, again, we take out this g of x, replace it with what it is. So we got f of x minus 3 equals x. And now we take the f function, we write it down, except we leave out the x. So it looks like this. X, which we leave a blank space, plus 3 equals x. And now inside the space, we drop this down. So x minus 3. All right, and then we just have to simplify this side. We're going to combine like terms. We have a -3 and a +3. They cancel out, and we get x equals x, so it checks out. They are inverses. All right. Do the same thing with b. Again, we're going to show that f of g of x equals x. So again, f of, and g of x is 1/4 x minus 1/2 equals x. All right, and now we're going to rewrite the f functions on the outside, but leave out the x. So it's 4, the x, which is parentheses, plus 2 equals x. And inside the parentheses, we're going to drop this down. So 1/4 x minus 1/2. Now all we have to do is simplify this side. So the first thing we have to do is distribute this. So 4 times 1/4 is 1. So we get x. Half of 4 is 2, minus 2. And then the plus 2 we bring down equals x. And then there it is. Minus 2 plus 2 cancel each other out. And we get x equals x. So that's how you verify that they are inverse functions. All right, how to find an inverse function. First thing you do is you replace f of x with y. Then you switch the x and the y, and you solve for y. Okay, so again, 3 steps. Replace the f of x with the y, switch your x and your y, and then solve for the y. And then that'll give you your inverse function. All right, let's see how to do this. All right, we're going to find the inverse of this function. So again, our first step is we replace the f of x with y. That's the first step. Second step, you switch your x and your y. So now it becomes x equals 2y plus 4. And then the third step, we solve it for y. So solving this for y, we're going to subtract 4. Again, solve for y means get y by itself. So now I have x minus 4 equals 2y. And then I divide by 2, and we get y equals x minus 4 over 2. And there is your inverse function. And you can write it up as f to the negative 1 of x equals x minus 4 over 2. All right? So again, that's how you would write it up, the inverse function. All right, so again, B, first step, we change the f of x to y. We switch our x and our y, so now it becomes x equals 4y plus 2. And now we solve it for y. So minus 2, x minus 2 equals 4y, and then divide by 4, and we get y equals x minus 2 over 4, or f to the negative 1 of x, which means the inverse function is x minus 2 over 4. All right, then you got 3 you-try problems. You can go ahead and you can pause the video. All right, I'll do them real quick. But you can pause the video, try them on your own, and then you can check your answers. Turn the video back on. All right, so the first one, again, we switch the f of x, make it a y. Then we switch the x and the y. Solve for y. We would divide by 4, and we get y equals x over 4. So that's the inverse function. So f to the negative 1 of x is equal to x over 4. This one, again, make it y equals 3x minus 1. Switch. X equals 3y minus 1. Add 1. Get x minus 1 equals 3y. And divide by 3. And we get f to the negative 1 of x equals x minus 1 over 3. Because again, our y would be by itself. Right, and then the last one, y equals negative x plus 3. Switch. So now we got x equals negative y plus 3. So we would subtract 3. X minus 3 equals negative y. And then we got to multiply by a negative 1 because we got to get the y by itself. And now I got y by itself, so it would be f to the negative 1 of x equals, multiply by negative 1. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 3 is positive 3. And there's our answer. So there's your 3 u-tries. Right. So you can figure out whether a function has an inverse. Actually, you can tell if the inverse is a function, all right, by doing the horizontal line test. Remember, we had the vertical line test to tell if it was a function. If it passed the vertical line test, then that means that it was a function, right? If for this one, though, we're doing the horizontal line test, and that is to tell whether a function has an inverse. All right, so if we have this function, we do the horizontal line test. Again, it's only hitting in one spot all along, so this one would have an inverse. This one, we do the horizontal line test. It's hitting it here, fails, so this one doesn't have an inverse. All right, so this one has inverse. Does not have inverse. All right. And then example 3, we're going to find the inverse of it. We're given the function. Okay, so determine whether the inverse of a given function is a function. So if we do this, we can see it only hits it, so it would be a function. Again, we're going to make that a y. So we get y equals x cubed plus 1. Switch our x and our y. So we get x equals y cubed plus 1. Solve for y. So minus 1, x minus 1 equals y cubed. And to get rid of the cube, we have to cube root. So the cube cancels out. So we're left with y equals the cube root of x minus 1. All right, and I'm just going to do that one. Don't worry about this one. I just wanted to show you one of those. All right, and then you don't have to worry about doing this. We won't be doing that either. All right, and that's it. So that's it for the notes. Okay, so for homework, what I want you to do is this worksheet. All right, it's your practice A worksheet. You're going to do let's do the odds. All right, let's do the odds all the way down to number 15. Okay, so just the odd ones down to 15. And that's it.